بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه أما بعد. So we mentioned two conditions that are needed out of 7 for the transaction to be valid. And the first one was consent, second one was to be from someone who's authorized to deal, and the third condition is that what is being sold has to be 1, permissible, 2, has benefit in it, and 3, without a necessity. What do we mean by being permissible? It means that things that are haram cannot be sold. Cigarettes, tobacco, intoxicants. These are musical instruments. These are all haram. So this cannot be permissible to sell. It has to be permissible. And it has to have benefit, use. So if you sell something that has no benefit, such as selling insects, for example. Insects have no benefits for people. So this is not permissible to sell. It has to be permissible, has benefit, and without a necessity. Why do we say without necessity? Some things are beneficial, but they're not permitted because they're only permitted in necessities. Like, for example, acquiring a dog. A dog is haram to buy and to sell, but it is permissible to use in conditions. Is there any benefit of it? Yes. In terms of a dog that catches game and hunts, a dog that protects, a dog that used for protecting the herds, a shepherd dog. So these are permissible, but with what? With necessity, not generally permissible. And this is why you cannot sell them and buy them, according to the most authentic opinion. Also, buying dead meat. This is not permissible, but for necessities, you can use it. So if I have a dead cow or a dead sheep, I cannot sell it, but I can use it to feed animals that I have. This is halal. Buying and selling it, no. Likewise, buying animal dropping. This is for necessity. You can buy this if there is a necessity for it, like in buying fertilizers. In this case, you can do that because there is this necessity coming into place. Number 4, condition number 4, that the person selling has to be an owner or authorized. So if I do not own this bottle, and can I sell it to people? It's not mine. So it has to be from an owner or someone authorized. So the owner of the bottle came to me and said, Sheikh Asim, I authorize you to sell it. And this is halal to sell because I'm authorized. There is an exception, but this is very minor. But I'll mention it for you just to have an idea. There is something called Bay'ul Fuduli, someone who's not authorized. And this transaction is a difference of opinion among scholars. Someone comes to me, finds this bottle in front of me, it's not mine. He says, Sheikh, do you sell this bottle? I said, yes. How much? I said, 1 dinar. He said, okay, I accept. And I said, I sell it. Then the owner comes. And I said, listen, this bottle of yours, I sold it for a dinar. He said, Yahi, why did you sell it? It's not yours. I said, I know. But I thought it was a good deal. If he approves it, the sale is halal. If he says, no, I don't want to sell it, I have to go to the buyer and say, the transaction is invalid because it's not mine, to give him back the money. This is called bay' al-fuduli. And the companions did this with the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet approved it. And there are many forms of it, but this is not the time. Condition number? MashaAllah. That it's possible that you can deliver it, which means that anything that you are not certain of being able to deliver is not permissible to sell. So we go to the Corniche, and I say to you, mashallah, look at the Gulf, it's very vast. I'll sell you 5 kilos of hamur in the water. She said, oh, that's a very good deal. I accept. I take the money and I leave. You will, where's my hamur? It's in the water. I didn't like it. Go ahead and collect it. It's not permissible. If I have a renegade slave that ran away from me, and I come to you and say, Akhi, the slave usually costs 1,000 Kuwaiti dinar, I'll sell it for you for 500 fils. Well, that's a good deal. Here is your money. So look, go ahead, catch it. Selling you birds in the sky. I cannot deliver, I cannot handle it. How can I sell it to you? This is ambiguous. So Islam says this is not permissible. Number 6, you sell something that must be identified by clear description or by visual or by touching. I cannot say to you, Wallahi, I have this beautiful car. I'd like to sell it for you or to you for 10,000 KD. I said, what type? He said, I don't know, but it's a beautiful car. It has 4 wheels, it has a good engine and 4 windows. Yeah, but well, what? I said, it's a good car. You think to yourself, Wallahi, okay, I can buy it. No, you can't. Because when you see it, maybe it's a Chinese car. Maybe it's a car from 30, 40 years old. This is why you cannot sell something without either full description of it, as if you can see it, or a picture, or something that's tangible I can see. Something described, no. This is invalid. And this is why among the categories in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited the selling of al-mulamasa. What is al-mulamasa? Is a transaction that is dependent on touching. So we're in a dark room, I'll say to you, whatever I throw to you and you touch it, it's for 1 dinar. So I throw something in you. Yeah, okay, I'm fine. You take it, it's not what you thought. You thought it was silk. And then discovered that it was rubbish. It's cost one fils. Al-munabatha is also prohibited. You come to a wholesaler and he says, everything is for 1 dinar. So you see many good things. He said, listen, whatever I throw to you, this is 1 dinar. Or whatever you throw a stone and it falls on it, this is for 1 dinar. Accept, you should accept. Maybe you get something worth 10 dinars, maybe you get something worth nothing. In games, when you go to the fun fairs and you put a coin in the machine and you try to grab a rabbit, you may fail and grab a mouse, maybe, I don't know. You may grab it. This is gambling. This is part of the ambiguity. Something you're not able to collect, you cannot participate in. Finally, the price must be defined. So I bought this bottle. Akhi, Assalamu alaikum, I want to buy this bottle. Okay, I'm selling it to you. Okay, I'm buying it. How much? I don't know. There is ambiguity in there, and there will be dispute. Because I say it's 200 fils, the Sheikh said. 250? 50. 50. Oh, See, ambiguity. And he's making me drink it, and now he's asking for 200. This is not fair. I have to clear it out before the transaction is made, so that there is no dispute that may arise in the future. So I hope this, inshallah, clarifies and gives you a preview. And this is only the tip of an iceberg. I've managed to summarize pages for you in these things, so that you just have a chopper view. You can see everything. But if you want to get details, you have to land your chopper and get more information. So who's the Sheikh who's going to read for us?
كتاب البيوع باب ما جاء first page number 463 of the book.
Okay, page. So I have to relay what he says, because he doesn't have a microphone. In the video there will not be enough sound. So page 463, chapter 34, which is Kitab al-Buyu', book of sales or bargains. Yes?
كتاب البيوع باب ما جاء في قول الله تعالى فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا إلى آخر آية.
وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. Okay, I think I just read the English. Yeah, you read the English for me. The Arabic, I don't think we need to read the Arabic, because I might as well read it in French. What's the point? I have my notes in Arabic because I depend on Arabic. But I need someone to read the English, because I'm very slow in reading English. I don't read English at all. So that's why I prefer to hear it from someone else.
Narrated Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiyallahu anhu.
You did not read the ayah, the introduction of the chapter in English.
The book of sales, bargains, chapter 1. What has come in the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning, then when the Jum'ah Salah prayer is finished, you may disperse through the land and seek the bounty of Allah by working, etc. And remember Allah much, that you may be successful. Hadith number 984, narrated Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiyallahu anhu, when we came to Al-Madinah as immigrants, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam established a bond of brotherhood between me and Sa'd bin Rabi'.
Okay, so I think we should dissect instead of reading the whole thing and then coming back to it again. When the migrants from Mecca went to Medina, they left behind their properties, their wealth, and some of them, their families. So the Prophet ﷺ established a bond of brotherhood. So each one from the migrants was allocated to one from the Ansar, the people of Medina. And in the beginning, this bond meant that they are brothers. So if one of them died, the other one would inherit him. Until the abrogation in chapter 8, Surah Al-Anfal, at the end, where Allah says, this is no longer. Only kinship inherit one another, and such a bond is found, but there is no inheritance between them. So the Prophet ﷺ allocated this companion to this companion, this companion to this companion. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, who is one of the 10 heaven-bound, which ranks him at the very top of the companions. As we know, the top companions are 4, and they are from the 10 heaven-bound. Then there are the 6. Then we look at the people of Badr. Then we look at this, etc. There are means and ways of differentiating between the companions. So Abdul Rahman ibn Auf holds one of the highest ranks. He was made a brother of Sa'd ibn Rabi'. And Sa'd ibn Rabi', the Prophet ﷺ, is a wise man. He knows who to allocate who. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf was known to be an excellent businessman, and we will come to see that. He would not, the Prophet ﷺ, put him along with a farmer or with a beggar or with someone who had no money, because he had to put him with someone in the same social and financial status. So he allocated him to one of the millionaires of Medina. What happened?
Sa'd ibn Rabi' said to me, I am the richest among the Ansar, so I'll give you half of my wealth, and you may look at my 2 wives, and whichever of the 2 you may choose, I will divorce her. And when she has completed the prescribed period before marriage, you may marry her.
So this is what is astonishing. Now, this is an assignment. Sa'ad, take Abdurrahman as your brother. Okay. Hello, brother, how are you? You may live in the guest room, and I will bring you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you need some money, I will lend you. I will give you. No. Sa'ad did not do this. He did not say, okay, here's $10,000. No. He said, I am amongst the richest in Medina. And this is half of my fortune, yours. This is crazy. I have 2 cars. Actually, I have 3, alhamdulillah. And if someone were to be my brother, I would give him a car and a half. I would give him a bicycle. Even a bicycle, you return it tomorrow. Huh? And, this is outstanding, something we cannot comprehend nowadays. To declare your wealth to someone who's a total stranger, not from even your country. He's an expat. He's from Makkah. And you say to him, this is my financial statement. Half of it is yours. Okay, if you're a multi-millionaire, if you're Elon Musk, what does half of it mean? Nothing. But to come and say, I have 2 wives, look at whom you think is more desirable to you, I will divorce her. After the waiting period, you can marry her. This is also outrageous to us. One, or especially feminists who are watching this, I hope you edit it, huh? I'll wait for your hate mails. It's okay. Feminists would say, oh, this is unfair. She's not a property. She's not something to sell and buy. How does he do this? How does he control? Ya akhi, think. Sa'd ibn Rabi' is not one of the 10 heaven bound, which in ranking means he's way lower than Abdurrahman. He preferred for his 2 wives to choose a better man than him. And he wants for his beloved wife to be with someone who is much better than him for fulfilling what the Prophet instructed, and also for getting reward. Not that he doesn't like his wives. So he gave him the choice. And we cannot understand this. It's way above our pay grade. But look at how these, and I don't have the time to go and tell you how Sa'd ibn Rabi' died. This is not our place. What did Abdurrahman respond to this generous offer? If someone of you come to me and say, Sheikh, this is my bank account, have half of it. I say, yeah, akhi, you're embarrassing me. But yallah, alhamdulillah. I would say this, huh? I would have no hesitation, something coming to me from Allah. I would not be normal if I say, I don't want it. But why is he one of the 10 heaven bound? This is his response.
Abdurrahman replied, I am not in need of all that. Is there any marketplace where trade is practiced?
Okay, this is why the hadith is mentioned. First of all, here he says, I don't need any of those. In another narration, also in Bukhari, he says, Barakallahu fi malika wa ahlik. May Allah put barakah in your wealth and in your wives. I have no need for that, no desire for that. But is there any marketplace where people trade? This is my craft. If he was a carpenter, he would have said, is there any place where people do cupboards and sitting? I want to go and practice my craft. So he's asking about a place where businessmen could practice what they know best. So what did Sa'ad say?
Sa'ad replied, the market of Qaynuqa.
What is Qaynuqa? It's a Jewish tribe. So we had Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza. Quraysh is in Makkah. That's a different. And then we have Khaybar, where a collection of these tribes may have lived in. So this shows you that the minorities usually have a very good financial status anywhere in the world. So when you have a minority community, they collaborate together, they start to help one another, and they rise to be an influential financial power. This is how the Jews have been dominating the markets forever. This is how they work. Of course, in addition to their ability to consume haram, which is a hindrance to us Muslims. We can be richer than them, but we always have restrictions, no bribes, no riba, no haram embezzlement, etc., which is a favor and blessing of Allah, which shows you which religion is closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. So he directed him to the market of the Jews.
Abdurrahman went to that market the following day and brought some dried buttermilk, yogurt, and ghee. And then he continued going there regularly.
So he brought these raw materials, yogurt, dried yogurt, white substance that they can travel and eat from it. It's not very delicious, is it? شوي فيه مرارة فيه حموضة. It's a little bit sour, but it gives you energy and it's dry. You can travel with it. And ghee, and these things are hot items to sell. In Corona, all places went down and lost businesses except restaurants. Deliveries, everybody needs to eat. MashaAllah, in Kuwait, everybody eats. Whenever I go to a restaurant, it's fully packed. Guys, don't you have any forms of entertainment other than eating? So, but alhamdulillah. So he went with this little amount and started to trade.
Few days later, Abdurrahman came having traces of yellow scent on his body.
This yellow scent is saffron. And this is usually worn when you are a little bit rich or got married. It's a trace of prosperity in a form. So he came to the Prophet ﷺ with this traces on him.
Allah's Messenger ﷺ asked him whether he had got married. He replied in the affirmative. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Whom have you married?" He replied, "A woman from the Ansar." Then the Prophet ﷺ asked, "How much did you pay her?" He replied, I gave her a gold piece equal in weight to a date stone, or a date stone of gold. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Give a walima, wedding, even if with one sheep."
Okay, so this chapter deals with the ayah. Now remember, why is Sahih al-Bukhari so important in our lives? Number one, because the vast majority of scholars and ummah of the Islam, they agree that this is the most authentic book after the Quran. So whomever comes to try and discredit Sahih al-Bukhari, you know that he has signs of hypocrisy. Because if I want to undermine Islam, what should I do? Speak about XYZ? No. Speak about the Quran and try to discredit it. But we know that no one can do this because Allah protected it. And the challenge is from here till the day of judgment. So step 2, try to discredit the Sunnah. How to do that? Either speak ill about the companions. Speak ill about Ali, speak ill about Muawiyah, speak ill about Abu Hurairah, say bad things about them. The moment you do this, it means that whatever they narrated is questionable. So you've dismantled the Sunnah. If you can't speak about the companions, speak about the way the hadith was collected. And you say that, no, we believe only in the Quran. The Sunnah, they might be authentic, they might be weak. Maybe one of the narrators was asleep. Maybe he saw this in a dream. You try to do whatever. And one of the ways of also dismantling and destroying the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to speak about the hadiths themselves. This is not logical. This is this and this is that. This is why scholars always praise Sahih al-Bukhari and think highly of it and consider anyone to speak ill about it to be a hypocrite. Where does the power of al-Bukhari in the Sahih lie? Scholars say in the headlines, in the titles of the chapters. They say that this, his fiqh is in it. And we will come to see this. So he started with an ayah. فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. This ayah talks about what? Salatul Jumu'ah, about Friday prayer. Allah says, when the prayer is over, then spread and seek from Allah's bounties. Through what? Through trade, through work. The vast majority of us go eat and sleep. The Muslims on a Friday, they used to go to the souk after the Friday prayer and do some transactions. And this is why one of the companions is named Iraq ibn Malik. May Allah be pleased with him. If he prayed Jum'ah, he would stand at the door of the masjid and says, "Oh Allah, I've responded to your call," meaning the Friday prayer. "And I prayed your prayer. And now I'm spreading on the earth, seeking your bounty. So please provide for me and give me provision as you promised." And he would go and seek rizq from Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is why the Bukhari only used this as a title for this first chapter. A verse of the Quran indicating that it is permissible to trade specifically after a time of prohibition. What do we mean by a time of prohibition?
The time before.
Before the Jumu'ah, after the call of Adhan, which precedes the Imam saying, "Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh," and the Imam gives the Adhan. Here, it's a time of prohibition. Any transaction that happens is void. Okay, Sheikh, but I bought this bottle after the Adhan. It's void. Return it back, collect your money. Afterwards, repent to Allah, then you can buy it again. And a lot of the Muslims don't know this. So this is why Imam al-Bukhari brought this title for this chapter, brought this hadith to indicate that dealing and buying and selling like Abdurrahman did is a legitimate thing. Because anyone would say, "Ya akhi, where is the dalil of selling and buying is permissible?" You bring him the ayah, it makes you or asks you to go, and you bring him the hadith, he is the one who asked where the market is and went and sold and bought, and the Prophet approved his action, alayhi as-salatu was-salam. Okay.
Chapter 2. Legal and illegal things are clearly defined, and in between them are some doubtful, unclear things.
So this title is based on a hadith. Every one of you will know the hadith. And this hadith is an important concept of Islam, to the extent that Imam Ahmad, Imam al-Shafi'i, and other great Imams of Islam said Islam revolves around 3 and some say 4 hadiths. We will mention the 3 which they agree upon. Hadith number 1, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّةِ. Deeds are judged by intention. This is one of the hadiths that all rulings of Islam revolve around. Hadith number 2, مَنْ أَحْدَثَ فِي أَمْرِنَا مَا لَيْسَ مِنْهُ فَهُوَ رَدٌّ. Whoever innovates in our religion what's not part of it, it is rejected. This is hadith of Aisha. The first one is hadith of Umar. Third one is hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir ibn Sa'd, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father. الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات. So this is the third hadith. It has many different narrations, and this is one of them. Yes.
Hadith number 985, narrated by Nu'man ibn Bashir radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, both legal and illegal things are obvious, and in between them are unclear, doubtful matters.
Okay. Both the translator, sometimes makes mistakes, and they translate according to what they think. Al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin. Is it legal and illegal? There are so many legal things that are haram in our religion. So this is not an Islamic terminology, legal and illegal. You should say permissible things are obvious and clear, and prohibited things are obvious and clear. This is the right terminology, and this is why we always reiterate, learn Arabic. If you don't know Arabic, you cannot become a true, full-fledged student of knowledge. Your knowledge will be superficial, like the cream over a cappuccino. It's superficial. You need to know Arabic. Why? Once I was, 15 years ago, I was doing something for Kalima in Dubai. It's there's Kalima and there is a Manar, I think, or something like that, 2 da'wah centers. And I was doing for them a course on preparation of the funeral. From before the man dies, we kill him. He died naturally, but and how we wash him, shroud him, in the salat of janazah, everything. While I was doing my preparation, I came across a hadith. So in order to translate the hadith, it's best for me to go to Islam Q&A and look for the hadith in Arabic and go for the translation. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. One of the hadiths, I found an article written by an American imam of a masjid. And the article was good, the site was good. So I read the article, and the man was translating the hadith 7 other than those martyred in the battlefield, are considered martyrs. So the one who dies in a collapsed building, the one who dies by drowning, the one who dies by stabbing, by stabbing. So I said, oops, stabbing. I'm an Arab, I've never heard this. So I went, and he gave me a couple of seconds and said, Sheikh, why do you translate this? Stab in Arabic is ta'an. Someone who's stabbed is mat'oon, which is a hadith. But mat'oon also means the person who dies through the plague. Ta'oon. So the guy was reading it, so stabbed, okay, stabbed. So imagine if I read this translation, I'm a student of knowledge, and I'm in New York, and a brother comes to me, give me a wallet, I'm gonna kill you. Said, he has a knife. He said, Alhamdulillah, this is shahada. Come on, make it quick here, please. What are you doing? He said, mat'oon. I'll be one of the martyrs. No, stupid. Give him the wallet and go in peace. This was referring to the plague. So the translation counts. You have to know, is it a valid and trustworthy or not? Otherwise, you'll bring catastrophe to yourself. So this is an incentive, an encouragement. You are in an Arab country. Living here for 10, 20 years, you don't speak Arabic. I know the challenges, because every time you speak to me as a native, I'll reply to you in English. I want to practice my English. So you find it easy, so you're speaking English. No. Insist on speaking Arabic. I will speak to you in Arabic. But when you always speak in English, you will never, ever learn Arabic. So put it in your mind that every time I speak, I have to do it in Arabic. Fusha, colloquial, no problem. But do not use English. And inshallah, within 6 months, I guarantee you that you will read the Quran, read the Hadith without any problem. Because you're in Arabia. benefit from this instead of, "Oh, I'm too lazy." No, do it. Akhi, I'm doing Spanish. Now, I'm 61. I'm doing Spanish on my free time, which is very little. I've been doing it for a year and a half. I studied French for 2.5 years in college. It's easy to pick up a language, but you have to put some effort into it. We don't want to go out of the topic.
So whoever forsakes those doubtful, unclear things.
Okay, doubtful or unclear thing, I would rather translate it as ambiguous. Or, no, sorry, not ambiguous, dubious. Dubious matters. This is better than doubtful or unclear. Dubious matters.
Lest he may commit a sin, will definitely avoid what is clearly prohibited. And whoever indulges in these unclear, dubious matters bravely is likely to commit what is clearly prohibited.
What does this refer to? It refers to when going to transactions, when going to buying and selling. There are things that are crystal clear, halal. What's the ruling on buying water? Halal, thank you. What's the ruling on buying wine? Haram, thank you. What's the ruling on XYZ? I have to analyze. Is it halal? Is it haram? As long as there is doubt in it, leave it. As long as you're doubtful about it. Okay, Sheikh, but it might not be haram. True. But what's the other end of the equation? It might be haram. So there is a probability. The hadith tells you that there is a sanctuary. This sanctuary belongs to the king. And the king has all of his livestock in it. There's a big fence and a big warning sign. If your animal of your livestock enters this sanctuary, it will be the end of it. It will belong to the king. You cannot call it back. So now you say, oh, well, there is 5 meters. Okay, I can bring my livestock and the herd, they can graze around it. Not going to. Are you approaching danger zone? The Prophet says it's the same thing with dubious matters. You say, Akhi, this is not haram. Bring me the dalil. Akhi, it's not everything 1 + 1 = 2. There are other indications, indicators, there are other signs that makes it haram. So no. I want something that comes and says smoking pot, smoking marijuana is haram. Do you have this? I said, no, not in the text. I don't have something that says drinking whiskey or vodka or tequila or gin is haram. I have general definitions of it. So no, I will not. This is not dubious, this is almost haram or clear haram. But you, the Prophet ﷺ, is trying to align you with the Sharia, with the Quran and Sunnah. Something that is dubious, stay away from it, or you're inevitably going to fall in haram. And there are many examples of this. Okay.
Since are Allah's hima, that is private pasture, and whoever pastures his sheep near it is likely to get in it at any moment.
This is the pasture, which is the sanctuary that the king has, and this is well known to be his property. Don't approach it. And likewise, don't approach anything that may make you fall into clear haram because you're close to it.
Chapter 3.
ناخذ أسئلة ولا مشي؟ طيب. Okay. Only in what was related, in what we studied. Don't ask me what's the ruling on fasting 29th of Sha'ban. This is not related. Only in what we've studied. Do you have any questions? Or we should move on? Yes, sir.
Just you said it was from plague. Does that also include stomach disease? I heard one of them was if you died from like stomach disease.
No, stomach disease is mentioned in the hadith.
Okay.
Da'ul janab.
Okay.
So this is mentioned in the hadith, and anyone who dies with an illness in his intestines is considered to be among the martyrs. But ta'un is the plague. It's something to do with the respiratory. Also al-mabtun. But the plague is a specific pandemic that the Prophet was mentioning, alayhi salatu wasalam. Dubious.
Second condition, to be authorized to deal, and fourth condition, the person to be owner or authorized. What is the difference?
The owner is someone who owns it. The second one is in the person. I might be the owner. I might be the owner of this book. Number two says, yes, but there are conditions. Authorized. I am the owner. Am I authorized? What do you mean? Am I sane or insane? No, I'm insane, but this book is mine. That you're not authorized to deal. Am I an adult or a child? Am I sound in decision or I'm safih? Am I a slave or a free man? This is number two. It's characteristics of the owner. Authorized to deal. I am the owner. Number four, no, the one who's really doing the selling may not be the owner. So one of the conditions, number four, is to be the owner with the four conditions of authorized. Okay, if I'm not the owner, someone whom I authorize, someone who has authority. So I'm the guardian over 5 orphans, their children. But I'm their guardian. I have the authority to sell and to buy in their interest. But someone from the streets, he says, no, I will sell this building. What do you relate to them? Nothing. Do you have any authority? No. So you're not authorized.
That you mentioned that the product should be available and can be touched or seen. If it is not available, we can sell. So when we are buying the apartment, which is not at all constructed, it will be constructed in the future, but I am buying and paying a contract. Is it valid transaction?
This is called in fiqh al-istisna', to manufacture something according to my description and demand. So I say to you, I need 100,000 paper cups. So okay, halas, bismillah. So you have to describe it. The material has to be this. The diameter has to be this from the bottom to the top. The color has to be this. I give you an order and you say, okay, this will cost you so much. My profit is so much, or I'll give you a lump sum. This is permissible. This is istisna'. What we're talking about when we said that it has to be possible, any ability to deliver it, is when you sell something that is not possible to deliver. So if I say to you, okay, I will sell you the Brooklyn Bridge, how am I going to deliver it to you? Or I say to you, I'll sell you a space shuttle, and I don't have the means of manufacturing, or I sell you something on the moon. I'll give you 4 by 4 kilometers on the moon, and your name, and we will make it, inshallah, great place to migrate to. And I give you, and they were doing this in America, by the way, and they were selling it, pieces of land, and you go authenticate the deeds. And this is un-Islamic. Yes, sir.
You said that whatever you're selling has to have a value.
Correct.
Let's say there are things which have perceived value. For example, in Dubai, they're selling number plates. So, and for exorbitant prices. So, is this allowed?
No, this is not allowed. This is something that has no benefit. This is extravagance. This is selling something that has no value, which is a license plate A1. And you sell it for 5 million, 6 million dirhams, maybe 10 million dirhams. What's the benefit of it? Showing off, extravagance, and wasting money. This is totally prohibited.
Sheikh, this is permissible to sell it, like you said in the sea, fish. So nowadays, someone asked this question, selling water from the natural resources, because he is not owner, but it's a natural resource. He is making the bottling and he is selling the water. So does this permissible?
Does he do any work? Is there any cost on him? Is he putting any effort into it? Of course. He's collecting it, he's refining it, he's bottling it, he's storing it, he's marking it. This is different from someone who sees a well in the open and he puts a fence and he prevents people from drinking. No, people are in common use of water, of fire, and of grazing. This is Allah's property and it's for free. But if I have my own property and there's a well inside it and people want to take water from it by force, no, this is mine. You see the difference? There's no problem in selling water, inshallah. Shall we?
Well, no.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned about the buying or selling anything after Salat, after Azan al-Jummah.
Correct, before the end of Salah.
Okay, because there is some scholars, they differ, is it the first Azan or the second Azan?
That's why I said the one that is preceded by the salam of the Imam. When the Imam says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and sits, the Muaddin gives adhan.
Yes.
This is first or second?
Second.
This is the second. This is how we identify which adhan. That's why I said it, so that there would be no ambiguity. It's the adhan that is preceded by the salam of the Imam. The first one, which is an hour earlier, no, you can buy and sell. No problem.
Sheikh, sorry, connected to the same question. So, for example, just before going to Jummah, we order something to be delivered, and we pay at the time of delivery. Maybe he got late, so we go to the masjid, and the delivery happens after the adhan. So the transaction happens while within this.
Yeah, the transaction happened earlier.
Yeah, but it's only a call.
It happened earlier. Whether he delivers it after the adhan is made, you're in the masjid.
Yeah.
So your sister, someone who's not obliged to pray in the masjid will do the transaction. He is haram in doing it, but most likely he's a Hindu or someone has delivered it. He's not praying on time. So there's no problem that conducting the transaction, I sell, I buy. After the adhan is haram. You did it before. The delivery is included, but you're not there to receive it. You're in the masjid. So there's no liability on you, inshallah.
One last question.
Akeem? Time.
This place is to be renovated. You're the client. I'll be doing the renovation for you. So you asked me what will be the cost. We'll take an example, 100 kg. I quoted you 100 kg, but it costed me only 20 kg. So the 80 kg or the profit margin that I was going to put was still 50 kg. But I earned more how much? 50 kg extra. Is that haram?
This is something to be dissected. Now, I have approached you because you're a construction agent. So I want you to do a task for me. This task includes buying raw material, includes hiring labor, and the execution of the work. This is a package deal. Usually the people know that most people don't make a very big margin on the raw material, on the paints, on the cement, on the gypsum board. They usually make marginal profit, but they make a lot of profit on the labor and on the execution of the work. If I'm okay with that, and there's no ambiguity in the contract, and you sign it, if you make 50% profit or 100% profit, there is no margin of it. There's no cheating in it.
Okay, it's not cheating.
Yes.
That's the point.
5% is mine, inshallah, next time. Bismillah.
Chapter number 3. Explanation of doubtful things.
So now, after the Imam Bukhari mentioned the hadith of permissible and prohibited among them or between is dubious things, he wanted to give an example of what is dubious things that you should avoid.
Hadith number 986. Narrated Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Utbah bin Abu Waqqas took a firm promise from his brother Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas to take the son of the slave girl of Zam'a into his custody, as he was his, that is Utbah's son. In the year of the conquest of Makkah, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas took him and said that he was his brother's son, and his brother took a promise from him to that effect.
Okay, let us wait here because now we're confused. We don't know what's happening. Utbah ibn Abi Waqqas. Who do you think he's the brother of? Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas is one of the top 10 heaven bound. So Utbah is no more living. He died. He said and gave an advice to his brother Sa'ad. Oh Sa'ad, when I die, this child is my son. Which child? The child of a concubine of a woman slave. She's a woman slave. She's a concubine. Who does she belong to? She belongs to Zam'a. Who's Zam'a? Zam'a happens to be the father of the mother of the believers, the second wife of the Prophet ﷺ. Her name is Sauda. Maybe most of you have never heard of her. Yeah, this is the second wife. After Khadija died, the Prophet married two. One elderly woman his age, Sauda bin Zam'a, and one young woman who did not reach age of puberty, but the marriage was not consummated, and she was Mother Aisha radiallahu anha. So what happened was that this Utbah happened to have fornicated with that concubine, and she got pregnant. So he told his brother, after I die, by the way, this is my child, so take him and give him my name. The child grew up after a few years, and at the time of the conquest of Makkah, when was the conquest of Makkah in Bhijri? On the 8th year. Two men came with the boy. And the first one, Sa'ad, who's carrying the advice and the recommendation of his brother, Utbah. The other one is Abd ibn Zam'a, the brother of Sauda, who says, now this boy is my brother because his father is my father and his mother is a concubine who sleeps on my father's bed. So what's the logical thing? Sa'ad said, no. He's my brother's son because my brother told me that he fornicated with that woman. So they came to the Prophet ﷺ saying,
Abd bin Zam'a got up and said, he is my brother and the son of my father's slave girl, and was born on my father's bed. Then they both went to the Prophet ﷺ. Sa'ad said, O Allah's Messenger ﷺ, he is the son of my brother, and he has taken a promise from me that I will take him. Abd ibn Zam'a said, he is my brother and the son of my father's slave girl, and was born on my father's bed. Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, the boy is for you, O Abd ibn Zam'a. Then the Prophet ﷺ said,
okay, this is not the actual translation. Totally. The translation is in 4 words. The child belongs to the bed, and the fornicator receives only the rock. This is the actual literal translation. What does it mean? It means that regardless of what you claim, does the woman have a husband or a master? Meaning, does she have a bed? Then whatever she brings or gives birth to belongs to the bed. Who's the owner of the bed? Well, she's not married. And she's a free woman. This is out of wedlock. But no, she's married. Who's her husband? XYZ. The child belongs to XYZ. But XYZ is impotent. He cannot have children. He's over 90 years old. He's paralyzed for 6 years. Who's the father of the child? XYZ. Yeah, Sheikh. This is the Islamic ruling. Now we go to XYZ. Do you challenge? He said, no, I'm happy. I'm good. Bring 6 of them. They're all my children. Khalas, he's happy with that. We judge by what we see. We have rules. So the child was born to a husband. The husband is the father unless the father denies it. Says, no, it's not mine.
Yeah.
If he wants, he goes to stage 2, escalates by li'an. Li'an is to curse. He's not mine, he's not mine, he's not mine, he's not mine. May Allah's anger be upon me if he's mine. And okay, then we have to go to the woman. She says, Wallahi, he's his. And the 5th time, Wallahi, he's his, and may Allah's wrath be upon me if I'm lying. What to do? Khalas. This is the Islamic Sharia law. Okay, Sheikh, we have DNA. Doesn't work. Sheikh, DNA, it proves it. No. This is Islam, Habibi. DNA is circumstantial evidence. Might you be used to support, but not to indict or incriminate. It's how many people in America were thrown in jail for 30 years because of DNA, and after 30 years said, oops, we made a mistake. You made me lose 30. Who knows the DNA analysis and to take the DNA? Only a handful of people on earth. So it's something dependent on your judgment. Not everybody can see this. This is why, and this is not our topic, by the way. So the translation is wrong. The Prophet said, Al-waladu lil-firash. The newborn belongs to the owner of the bed. And the fornicator receives only the rock, meaning he has no value, nothing. He doesn't have anything to get hold to and to show to people. Nothing. Rock. Khalas. Okay. No, we didn't finish. And he said to...
The Prophet ﷺ told his wife, Sauda bint Zam'a, to screen herself from that boy, as he noticed a similarity between the boy and Utbah. So the boy did not see her till he died.
Nah, this is dubious. The ruling is clear. The boy belongs to whom? To Zam'a, his father. So Abd, who's claiming that this is my father's child, you take him, he's yours. The fornicator, Utbah, his brother Sa'ad said, you have no right in this boy, he doesn't belong to you. But when the Prophet saw that there is a resemblance between the child and Utbah, there is a resemblance in physical features, now this became what? Dubious matters. Ruling, we have to rule it like the Sharia said, the boy is yours. But because of the resemblance, the Prophet ordered his wife, ﷺ, Sauda, who happens to share the same name with that boy. They have the same father. But because of the dubious issue, because of his resemblance to Utbah, he said, you have to wear the hijab. You have to cover. And she did not see him till she died. He was what? Her brother. He would inherit her if she dies. This is the legal aspects. But because there is a dubious issue, the Prophet said, refrain. Now you know what dubious means. Sharia-wise, same father, same identity card, same siblings, same relatives, but due to this ambiguity and confusion, she was ordered to wear the hijab from him.
Chapter number 4. Whoever does not consider dark suggestions by one's own self or similar things as dubious matters.
Okay, so whoever does not consider dark suggestions. I don't know if this is one of Batman's movies or what is dark suggestions? Dark suggestions. Waswas is dark suggestions. Waswas. I've been doing counseling sessions for ages. This is the first time I hear this description. Dark suggestions. By whom? No, it's called whispers. Whispers of shaitan. So this is waswas. Bab, who does not consider whispers of shaitan as part of dubious matters. Why? Because we have to close the door of OCD. Wallahi, if I tell you the amount of counseling session I do for people over OCD, you'll be amazed. You think that Muslims are getting crazy. OCD is prevailing. And this is only attributed to lack of knowledge. The moment you have knowledge, no OCD. But when you don't have knowledge, it builds up in kufr, in whispers about Allah, about the Quran, about the Prophet ﷺ. And it started from little things. In purity. Oh, I'm dripping urine. Oh, my wudu is not correct. I repeat my wudu. I take half an hour to do ghusl. And then it escalates little by little. Sheikh, I made a lot of money out of this, alhamdulillah, may Allah protect us. Of people saying, Sheikh, I want counseling session. And I give them 20 sessions. Of what? I divorced my wife, but I'm not sure if I divorced my wife or not. This is all what we revolve around. Sheikh, I was thinking of divorce, but I said to my wife, I was thinking a song, let's roll together. So I thought to myself, okay, this is divorce because I was thinking of divorce. I said, were you having a fight? She said, no. But because I was thinking, let's roll together, and as if I'm telling my wife I'm going with another woman who I'm marrying you, which means that I will divorce you. So is this ambiguous divorce, Sheikh? I'm afraid even shaitan will say, taqillah. This is crazy. I cannot force you to do this. This is from you. And the guy comes back and back and back. All what you need to do is have knowledge. If you know that divorce doesn't take place unless you intend it, unless you say it specifically, not ambiguously, and that you don't have OCD. And after that, alhamdulillah, how did he resolve this issue? By recording. I said, I'm repeating the same words over and over again. Please record this session. He recorded it, khalas. Every time he wants to have one, he listens to it. Yeah, this is logical. No need. It ended. So OCD is problematic, but how to solve it? Through knowledge. Now listen to this hadith.
Hadith number 987, narrated Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Some people said, O Allah's Messenger, meat is brought to us by some people, and we are not sure whether the name of Allah has been mentioned on it or not at the time of slaughtering the animal. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them, mention the name of Allah and eat it.
Now this is problematic to most of the Muslims. Akhi, this halal or not halal? The meat is halal or not halal? Yes, it's halal. What is the dalil? Come on. What do you mean by the dalil? No, you have to prove to me that it is halal. So what? Bring you video recording of its being slaughtered? It's halal. The hadith is not so open that people go to Russia who are atheists or communists, or go to India who are Hindus and just say Bismillah and eat. No, you have to know the background. The background is the hadith, the full hadith. O Prophet of Allah, we have people recently accepted Islam. And this is very important. It's not Chinese. If I go to China and they serve me meat and I say Bismillah and I eat it, no, this is not halal. Why? Because we as Muslims can only eat the slaughtering of... I made this statement once in Twitter, they banned me for 4 months. They say, you promote slaughtering the Jews and the Christians. The question was crystal clear. What's the ruling on eating in America from McDonald's and Burger King? I said, the slaughtering of the Jews and Christians is halal. Which means that even if you are as good in English as I am, you make mistakes when you speak to people not knowing their background. Any Muslim would have understood it, right? The question is clear, the answer is anticipated. They think that you have to read the question. Don't be stupid. Read the question. Is it about eating the meat? No, you said slaughtering. You have to delete it. I said, no, I'm not going to delete it. For 4 months, they suspended my account. I appealed. I sent to them quotations from the Quran. They sent back to me, you have to delete it. At the end of the day, I said, delete it. So every time I speak about this, I always bring this issue so that it remains in the back of our minds. We are under the microscope. We Muslims, whenever you speak, everything is being scrutinized. Never say something that may incriminate you or be misunderstood. Always be clear. So the slaughtering by a Jew, Christian, or a Muslim butcher of an animal makes the animal halal for me. Any other denominations is haram. A Buddhist, a Hindu, a atheist, someone who doesn't believe in the existence of Allah, if they slaughter and say Bismillah, Wallahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, it's still haram. Because only these three men we are allowed to eat from their slaughtering. So the hadith says these people just recently accepted Islam. They're not knowledgeable about the rulings. We don't know when they slaughtered, did they say Bismillah or not? This is the ambiguity in it. So the Prophet said, do not consider this to be dubious. What are the clear instructions? Are they Muslims? Yes. In this case, whatever they slaughter, when you get it, you say Bismillah, and this will make it halal. This raises and uplifts the hardship. Why? The butchers here in Kuwait, do you buy meat from them? The biggest is Americana. In Saudi, we rely entirely on Americana. It's a Kuwaiti establishment until, as far as I know. Do you know the butcher who slaughtered it?
No.
Do you know whether they pray or not? Do you know if they said Bismillah or in the name of whatever? So how do you eat it? Now, people with OCD are starting to make their calculations. Oh, okay, I have to remove the meat in the refrigerator, I have to do this. The Prophet is making life easy. So don't go beyond the ease of Islam and make things difficult. Now, if you want to protect yourself and say, I'm not going to eat of something that, this is up to you. The problem doesn't stop here. The problem is when you do this, 5-6 months, you start to look down at people. Oh, Sheikh Asim eats from McDonald's or Burger King, as far as we know. How does he know it's halal? How do you know that it's haram? It's a Muslim country. It doesn't serve alcohol. And the default is all the meat is halal. Ya akhi, in the Sahih, the Prophet ﷺ was invited by a Jew woman. And he answered the invitation with his companions. She put a lot of poison in the shoulder. The Prophet went and ate. Oh, Prophet of Allah, wait. She's Jew. And the income of the Jew, as mentioned in the Quran, is from riba and from haram. You should ask her, did you buy it from halal means or haram? No, he didn't ask. Okay, Prophet of Allah, she's a Jew. You don't know if this is fallen from a mountain or was killed by suffocation or slaughtered. You should ask. No, she's from the people of the book. Allah mentioned in chapter 6, Surah Al-Ma'idah, 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah, that their slaughtering is halal for us. Their meat that they slaughter is halal for us. So we can eat. So the Prophet acted accordingly. He did not ask. So do you know more than the Prophet? No. So why make life difficult? Now, if you don't feel good about it, don't eat. When you go to Canada or America, don't eat. I personally would go and check. They sell pork or not? They don't sell pork. Bismillah. I eat. I have no problem with that. You feel better, good for you. But don't look down at people and start saying, oh, this is halal, this is haram on your own thing, because the Prophet indicated clearly in the hadith, alayhi salam, Sammullah, you say Bismillah and eat.
Chapter number 5. The one who does not care from where he earns his money, that is whether through legal or illegal ways. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a time will come upon the people when one will not care how one gains one's money, legally or illegally.
Of course, we change it legally into from permissible ways or from prohibited ways. Are we in such an era?
Yes.
Big time. And the biggest problem is among the Muslims. Why? Because they always play tricks and allow shaitan to play tricks by misinterpreting things. He's a brother with long beard, I'm a brother with long beard. And we find out that we have problems, disputes. What caused all of these problems and disputes? Misinterpretation. I say that I can't take this money from our partnership because I'm entitled to it. I did this, I did that. And he says, I'm entitled to travel first class. Though, Allah said, from the money of it. And everyone starts to make misinterpretation. Misinterpretation and conflict happens. I was involved in a lot of this conflict solving between brothers. And you will be shocked. Imams of masjid doing things that are clearly haram, but they are convincing themselves that it is totally halal, and they go to bed every night, sleep like a baby. But when you come to them and open their eyes and show them where haram is, they realize it. Without knowledge, without being objective and sincere to Allah, you will always think that I have the right to steal from my company. Why? We have people who are bearded, who pray in the first row, they steal from the company, they embezzle the wealth of the company. Why? They didn't give me overtime for 6 years. They told me in the contract that they will give me this and that, and they didn't. So I'm entitled to do this, do that. He gives justifications for himself. So the Prophet is warning us, alayhi salatu wasalam, beware not to be the opponent, the prosecutor, the judge, and the executioner at the same time. Will you ever be at wrong? Because I have everything in my hand. When we see disputes between a man and his wife, usually the man is the oppressor. He's the one who's oppressing because he has the power of divorce. He has the power of not giving her money or not letting her travel. So he's the judge, he's the opponent, he's a prosecutor, and he's the executor at the same time. And this does not exempt you from accountability on the Day of Judgment, where you will stand in front of Allah. So from now on, analyze every single penny that enters your wealth, because you will be asked, like we said yesterday in Jum'ah khutbah, you will be asked about every penny, where you earned it from, not only that, and where you had spent it in as well.
Chapter number 6, Trade of Cloth. Narrated Zayd bin Arqam and Al-Bara bin Azib radiallahu anhu, who were traders in the lifetime of Allah's Messenger. We asked Allah's Messenger ﷺ about money exchange. He replied, if it is from hand to hand, there is no harm in it. Otherwise, it is not permissible.
Of course, otherwise is not the correct translation. The Arabic word is وَإِنْ كَانَ نِسَاء فَلَا يَصْلُحْ. Nisa can mean women, but they're not asking about exchanging women. It's not an orgy. They're asking about transactions, money. So nisa means to delay in time of payment. Another word of it is nasi'ah. So now in order to explain this, we have to explain what riba is. So bear in mind, maybe this is the last hadith, because we have to a little bit give you a vivid explanation about what riba is. Riba is, in Arabic, increase. So whatever increase is called yarbu, yazid, ziyada. This is linguistically. But the definition in Sharia, the legislative definition is the increase over certain items. And what are these items? Listen carefully. The Prophet named ﷺ 6 items. What are these items? Gold in exchange of gold. Silver in exchange of silver. Draw the line here, because these two categories have a special ruling of them. Then he went to say dates through dates. شو اسمه no, not grain, wheat by wheat, barley by barley, which is sha'ir, and salt by salt. These are 6 categories. The Prophet said, "As-salam, hand in hand, being immediate. And if these categories differ, you can sell us whatever you want or however you wish." So we have 2 categories, gold and silver, that are classified alike. And we have 4 items that are classified in their own category, which are dates, wheat, barley, and salt. The types of riba are 2. Riba and nasi'ah. Allah says in the Quran in chapter 9, إِنَّمَا النَّسِيءُ زِيَادَةٌ فِي الْكُفْرِ. What is nasi' in this ayah in Surah At-Tawbah? The idol worshippers knew that since the beginning of time, Allah made 4 months, Ashhur Hurum, sacred months. What are they? Correct. I need someone to specifically say it to you. Raise your hand, say, "I'm sure. If not, I'll give you 100 KD. Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. These are the 4 sacred months. The Arabs knew that we should not initiate fighting, we should not invade one another, though they're idol worshippers. Sometimes they got squeezed at times and said, "Ya Allah, we are in Muharram. Tell you what, let's call it another name. It's not Muharram. Muharram is the following month. Yalla, Bismillah, let's go and raid." So they delay months from their actual timing of the calendar so that they would change the ruling of Allah. And Allah considered that to be increase in kufr. Until the Prophet ﷺ was sent to them, and the whole year revolved to be exactly as was hundreds of years ago, like Allah has stated. So what is riba and nasi'ah? Riba and nasi'ah is when I give you a loan, 100 KD, and you say, "I promise you to return it after 1 month." After 1 month, I come in and say, "Give me my 100 KD, or I'll give you 2 more months for 110. So the increase in the KD, which is the same item, was done in exchange of what? Of time delay. This is called nasi'ah. There is something else called riba al-fadl. Al-fadl is when you favor something over something, so there is an increase. And this happens, for example, if I have dates, good quality dates, and you have bad quality dates. So you come to me and say, "Sheikh Asim, Bismillah, hand to hand, halal or haram? Haram." And these are the 6 categories that the Prophet said that riba al-fadl applies in it. So gold by gold, whether raw material or made, it has to be equal. 100 grams, 100 grams. 22 carats, 22 carats. Now you can exchange. Otherwise, 101 is not permissible. Okay, Sheikh, but the 101 is given because the 100 grams are new gold or has a new stamp in it. So the 1 gram extra because of haram. And this is found a lot in women. She has a bracelet. She goes to the jeweler's shop. How much is this? He weighs it. He says, 10 kd. She says, that design, how much is it? He says, this is 15 kd. She says, okay, here is 5 kd. Bring me the haram. You're exchanging 2 gold items that are not equal. Then this haram. What to do? We will get to know this. I don't want to confuse you because I just want to understand what riba is. Okay, Sheikh, then excuse me, but why did you classify these 6 items into 2 categories? The scholars say that time evolves and progresses and transactions differ. So why the Prophet selected these 6 items? All of the scholars of all schools agree that these are divided into 2 categories. 1, gold and silver. And they said, what is the illah? What is the reasoning between putting gold and silver separate? They said, 1, they have many. I will not go into details because you will sleep. And you didn't have dinner yet. So sleeping for dinner is not good. I will confuse you. I'll give you what Sheikh Asim bin Taymiyyah and our scholars have stated. They said that gold and silver have what is known as a thamaniyah. They are something of value that people use as a price. Anywhere of the world. You like this iPad? How many grams of gold? 20. Fadda. I will take it willingly, no problem, because universally it's accepted to be a value, something of a price to pay and get whatever you want to do in al-bay'. So gold and silver, we have no problem. Scholars said that anything that falls under this category would be considered the same ruling, which, as we know today, is
Money.
currency, banknotes. In the beginning, banknotes were backed by gold or silver. If you go to Fort Knox, they have a reserve of gold in America. And they used to write that whoever has this document will be paid in the amount of gold. Here in Saudi Arabia, we, until 30 years ago, on the banknote, it said to be given to whomever carries this document the amount equivalent in silver. So in the beginning, this is what where did the bank note word come from? Some say that this originated in Italy, where the banknote or whatever they call is the bench, the desk. And people who had money, they used to go to merchants for safekeeping. So the merchants, usually Jews, and you know what happened to the merchant of Venice, you don't. So they come to them with a bunch of gold. The merchant writes for safekeeping, this is the amount of so-and-so, the value of so-and-so in gold. And everybody considered them to be the banks because they had this banquet or whatever. And this was done by the Prophet ﷺ, by the way, in Makkah. They trusted him with their wealth, so they used to give it to him. This is why he kept and left Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, so that after he migrated, Ali would return these money to their people. After a few years, the money that I have with this merchant, I'm too lazy to go and collect it, the gold, and buy things. So I go to one of the brothers, Akhi, look at this document, the bank note that guarantees that the merchant has this gold for me. And I started to circulate it. And he used to buy meat with it, and the butcher would buy. So they started circulating, and the merchant became Barclays Bank, became Chase Manhattan Bank, became, and this is how. Few years later, which is few years earlier, countries thought of, this is lucrative. People are considering dollar to have value. Yalla, let's print $5 billion. Okay, what about the backing of it in gold? Oh, who cares? So now this is a different ball game altogether. We will not go into it. So gold, silver, and banknotes, they all share the issue of thamaniya, that has a value and a price, which means that I cannot exchange one another unless it is hand by hand. Gold by gold, it has to be hand by hand, it has to be identical. 100 grams, 100 grams. So what's the use of it? No use. Why would I give you 100 grams and take 100 grams if it's the same thing, identical in carat and weight? So the Prophet said this to prevent it. Now, exchanging others, gold to silver, can it be same weight? Of course not. 10 grams of gold equals 1.5 kilograms of silver, maybe. So there is no similarity. It's permissible to exchange with a condition that it is simultaneous, give and take. And this is called in Arabic sarf, exchange. It's like money exchange. It has to be hand to hand, simultaneous. So if I go to you and I say, Akhi, I have this 100 grams of gold, I'd like it in dollars. Simultaneously. A lot of people say, okay, here is 5,000 Kuwaiti dinar, I'll come in the afternoon, collect it. Haram. This is part one. Category, that is value and price. Part two, scholars started saying, why the Prophet specifically mentioned dates, wheat, barley, and salt. So scholars gave so many interpretations and ideas. Some said dates because they're sweet, so anything that is sweet falls under it. Barley and wheat is something that is baked and stored. You can store barley and wheat for ages. It will not rot. Salt is for anything that is used as spices. So curry and other things, it's all under. Scholars looked into it and said, okay, the reason is two things. It's consumed and it's weighed either by size, liters, or by weight, which is in kilograms or pounds. And others added a third condition, which is it has the ability to be stored. So corn, wheat, barley, raisins are all considered to be riba items. But when we come to watermelons, can we have watermelon riba? Meaning I give you 2 watermelons, you give me 1 big one. Halal, haram? No problem, because it doesn't fall under the description. Oranges, apples, bananas, lettuce, vegetables, it's all kosher. I cannot store it. Most of these items are not weighed. They're sold by items, etc. This means that iron is okay. So I have 1 ton of good iron and you have 3 tons of scrap. And I deal in scrap. Now I'll take this. Bismillah, bismillah. No problem. Whether it's simultaneous on the spot or here is 1 pure, good quality iron, ton of iron, I'll take your scrap a week later. No problem. Because it does not fall under these 2 categories. Did I bore you to death or I managed to make it clear, inshallah? Okay, so I think we have 6 minutes for questions. Yes, sir.
Sheikh, yesterday, a brother was saying that he plans to return a loan
and because it was over an extended period of time,
Exchange rate.
no, the exchange rate,
Mm.
although it was in a foreign currency, but he plans to off voluntarily to convey his appreciation, add on an amount to that, or maybe add a gift to that or something. Does that fall under the first type of riba?
Let's ask a Sheikh. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, alhamdulillah. No,
Depends on the.
Yes.
depends. All the. No,
Give, no.
no, it's not riba.
It's not a condition.
See, the riba has to be conditional. Meaning, I give you a loan, and this is a third category of the riba, which I did not go into because there is a number of issues, which is riba al-nasi'ah, riba al-fadl, riba al-qard, the riba on loans. And included in it, the first scenario I mentioned, the deposit, the huge deposit for the house. This is not a riba fadl or nasi'ah, this is riba qard. I'm giving you a loan and I'm getting benefit of the loan, a specific service or a specific favor. The brother is asking about someone who borrowed money from an individual, and when returning the money, he added something on top of it. This was done by the Prophet ﷺ. He used to do this when he borrowed things from people. Whenever it's time for payback, he used to tell his companions, give him better. So if he borrowed a 2-year camel, you say, give him a 4-year camel, which is more valuable in price. And he used to say, the best of people in returning the loans are the best of people who give. This is conditionally related to a condition. When I give you the loan, 1,000 KD, you said to me, okay, Jazakallah khair, give me 1,000 KD, and inshallah when I'll return it, I'll inshallah be, this squeaking. And I understood, khalas, what you meant. And I have no problem with that. No, this is haram. But if you do it out of your own goodwill gesture, wallah, Sheikh Asim gave me 1,000 KD, I'll give it to him with a Mont Blanc pen, or another gift, or a box of candy. There is nothing wrong. On the contrary, it's appreciated because this is an incentive for me. Next time the brother comes and says, I'm in need of a loan, bismillah. Because I've learned my lesson that doing good gives you good, but I'm not anticipating. Because if I say, yeah, I'll give you 1,000 KD, but the brother, he gave me this and this and this. No, this is insinuating, as if I am telling you what to do. No, this is haram. And this is between you and Allah. Sheikh says that whatever is known by default among the people is as if it's conditional. So now, if we know that if I give you 1,000, you will return 1,100 extra. No, this is conditional. This is haram riba. But if it's not known, and I'm not waiting, I'm not anticipating, I'm not insinuating, and you're not hinting, and you give it, jazakallah. Yes, sir.
You said now gold is not backed. So does it mean
What?
For the currencies,
Mm.
he says gold is not backed.
It's
Gold
not.
It's not backed.
by the gold.
The gold.
It's not, no, not the gold. The banknotes
Yes.
are not backed by gold or silver.
So does that mean we can borrow now?
This is why I mentioned in the early stages of defining the two categories of gold and silver, and whatever takes their role in the sense of being of value and price. Now this 10 KD, do you guys acknowledge that it has a value? With it, I can buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So everybody acknowledges it. Does it have a value that I can go to the central bank and ask for gold? No, but I can buy gold worth of it. So this falls under riba category. I cannot give you 10 KD requesting you to pay back 11 KD.
And quickly, just a final answer. Bitcoin is too much. I know it's a long topic, Is it halal or haram?
Haram. Haram.
Haram.
Regarding the
والله ما ادري مين هذا. هاي خاص.
So let's say there is a currency exchange, it has to be hand in hand and at the same time.
Correct.
But let's say the currencies are different from, let's say, Kuwait dinar to rupees.
Which is logical because nobody would change rupees to rupees.
So at that time, but the exchange happens on a delayed transaction. For example, now somebody gives me KDs, whereas I have to give the rupees back home. But when I actually give it, the bank takes time to deliver or to transfer from my bank to the other bank and so on. So there is a certain delay that happens. But the intention is there, the agreement is there, but it's a delay in the actual transfer. Is it valid?
What's the question? Now, okay. Because I thought you will explain. Anyhow, the question is very important. This concept, if I recall it correctly, is called in fiqh as saftaja. What does saftaja mean? It means that transferring the money through someone who has assets over there, like it's not money laundering, it's illegal. So you come to me and say, Sheikh Asim, this is 1,000 KD. I'd like to transfer it into rupees and deliver it in Chennai to my father. I said, okay, I'll take XYZ commission. Is this permissible or not? The answer is no, it's not permissible. Because there is no simultaneous handling. How would it become permissible? If I say to you, okay, come to me Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, which is 12:30 p.m. in Chennai, and let your father go to this address where my agent is there with the cash money. I will be selling you the 10,000, how was it, 1,000 or whatever, 1,000 KD into this much rupees, and it will be delivered on the same time through phone call. He comes at 10 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Agent, my agent so-and-so, you've got the money? Yes, I have X, Y, Z. Is his father there? Yes, his father there. So I give him the money, and I say, okay, now give the rupees to the father. He gives the rupees to the father. This is a done deal. Halal. This is called saftaja. The simultaneous transaction has been done. Okay, what about the banks? The banks is different. First of all, the bank has a different status than individuals because they are a financial institution and the guarantee of your money being delivered on time and as we've agreed upon is guaranteed. Not only that, when you go to the bank and you give them 1,000 KD, on the spot they will say to you, okay, we will transform it into rupees and it's XYZ. Then we will transfer it on your behalf. So the transaction of selling rupees and dinar has been made. Now they take 7 KD for the wire transfer. This is different from the selling of the exchanging. The exchange has happened on the spot. And now I've authorized them to transfer the money to that. But again, they're not individuals. So we would have the fear of they're a financial institution backed by the government. And this is why we cannot do transfers without this means. And the scholar said that this is an exception of the general rule. I hope this makes sense.
Sheikh mentioned like gold with gold in equal weight.
Yeah.
So that would be like different carats also.
No, if different carat, then this is not riba, this is not same. Because it has to be, logically, I will not do it. And this is what the Prophet wanted, alayhi salam. You want to, and this is why, okay, a woman who had that bracelet, what does she do? She goes and says, how much is this? He says, how much did you say? 10 KD. So he says, okay, give me the money. So the guy buys it from her. She cashes the money. The transaction is over or not? Simultaneous. Everything is kosher. Now she has the right to walk out and buy it from somewhere else, or now I begin a second transaction. How much is this? It's 15 KD. Bring it, please. He brings it. She gives him additional 5 to the 10 she has in her hand. This is a total new transaction. There's no problem in that. The exchange in one, 2 in 1 is totally haram.
Sheikh, in this case, she has to have the currency in her hand, that can be.
Yes, it's not enough that to put it on. No, the system, she has to catch it. Now the system, what may be ambiguous to people, is buying through ATM. Is ATM simultaneous? Yes. The moment you give the ATM and they swipe the card, it's immediately in their bank account. It's simultaneous. Is credit card, Visa or MasterCard simultaneous? No. This has a grace period, this has a waiting period, totally haram. So ATM you can do because this is cash in cash, immediate.
Sheikh, just to follow up on that, sorry.
Credit note, they give the credit note instead of the.
But there might be a confusion, it's stolen. They will not cash their money except after a certain period of time, even with the credit note. When you buy through Visa, they will not give you immediately your amount. It has a system, and then there is a grace period for you, 40 days. So you didn't actually pay. Yes, sir.
Check regarding the same gold transaction. So sometimes we get requests from elsewhere saying that, can you purchase this gold for us?
Is he authorizing you, or is he buying it from you?
Not buying. Let's say this person sends the money.
On what account? Are you making profit out of it?
No. On behalf of this person.
He's authorizing you. So we spoke about this issue. Now when he sent you the money and he asked you to buy it, this gold, 100 grams of gold on his behalf. When you come and buy it from me, are you giving me an exchange simultaneously?
Yes, of course.
This is halal. Then you send it after 1 year to him, or after 5 months or 1 day. No problem. You are a representative of that person.
Even if that person doesn't give the money, I buy it by myself.
You buy it for your brother. My brother calls me, Sheikh Asim, in Kuwait, they sell very good, nice jewelry. Please buy this for me. Okay, I buy it for him and I collect it from there. I'm authorized. I'm not making money or a business and profit out of it. Yes, sir.
Sheikh, in our country there is like different agents. They have empty lands and they start selling the files, just the files for money, and then they allocate the files as per the amount of land or as per the amount of money you have paid for it. So can we sell the land before even it's allocated?
No.
You just have the files.
No, you cannot sell something that you do not possess and that is not identifiable. So the file that you get, maybe it's on a riverside, which is more lucrative. And maybe it's in the middle of the desert. But you don't know because there are files and the government allocates these files and then decides after collecting money which plot, whether who receives it. Sometimes 100 buy these files and only 10 because you do not possess something and you're selling like fish in the water. I'm buying it from you, I don't know. Allah, maybe I'm this or maybe I'm that.
The same thing while buying, he buys, he also doesn't know.
Likewise, when he buys from the government, also he doesn't know what he's buying. So this is not permissible, generally speaking.
Checking this jewelry one, the jewelry, she needs to buy in the same place or she's better to buy from the other?
The first transaction is over,
Yes.
it's up to her. She can go out to somewhere else. She can save herself trouble by buying it in the same place. But the most important thing is she got the cash in her hand. If she goes out, the man would not say, "Sister, fear Allah, you have to." No, he would say, "Alhamdulillah." He's making profit both ways. So he's not going to hold you accountable, or you can do whatever you wish.
Sure.
I hope last question was
So if we have a loan that we have taken, it's haram.
No, loans are not haram.
Okay.
Be
Meaning,
specific.
meaning if we pay commission.
Yeah, interest-based loan is haram.
Okay, now we are in a situation that we are paying commission. So how do we get out of it?
Pay it quickly. You cannot do anything. People who indulged in mortgage or student loans or bank loans, do you think that if you go to the bank and said, listen, I've become practicing, this is haram, fear Allah, say, oh, jazakallah khair, let's go. They'll put you in jail. So you have no other alternative but to pay it as soon as possible. Borrow from halal people and give it to them and get rid of it as soon as you can. Jazakumullah khair.
Brothers, tomorrow inshallah we try our best to pray in our masjid al-Maghrib. And please try to keep the part of the because some people become